The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think he missed the complete. He's crazy.
As I said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Looking down from the blimp high above the St. Lawrence River and Notre Dame Island, on which sits Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, this afternoon's venue for the Apex Online Racing's Formula Renault 2.0 Championship. It's round 9 to 12 on the Season 5 calendar, and all the simulated open-wheel racing from both the 40-minute feature and the 25-minute sprint that follows can be seen live as it happens here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Bonjour everyone, and welcome to GSRC's Countdown to Green. I'm Bill Soups On. My usual partner Sean Crackers Ambrose is on assignment, so joining me in the booth is the hardest working man in sim racing broadcasting, the one and only Joe Peak. Turning the knobs and pushing the sliders is our director. As always, I'm Jed Yaman, armed with camera locations created exclusively for GSRC by its in-house director of photography, Dougie Beard. If you brought cyberspace into your place, then over the next 15 minutes, GSRC will bring you all the storylines, all the stats and facts you'll need to appreciate the Formula Renault 2.0 Championship that will be following. The international layout at Silverstone was the venue for round 8. 35 drivers took the grid at Christoph Holstein, surprising many by claiming the pole. René Oosterkamp got around Holstein during the first lap, and then a huge off-track took the pole sitter out of contention. But the big news was the success of Brazilian newcomer Aísio Telhas. Starting fourth, Telhas showed great pace to finish second. Christian Koch came in from fifth to claim the final podium spot. Point leader Gunnar Nienhaus came in fourth, just ahead of Christian Tkach. The short Silverstone layout allowed 19 cars to finish on the lead lap, which meant when the field was inverted, the Flying V, little Stevie Chambers, was on the pole inside of Daniel Morris. Chambers hung on to the lead for a couple laps before giving it up to fourth place qualifier Gianni Vecchio. Vecchio ran out in front until the final two laps when Jean-François Godin chased him down to take the win. Vecchio took second, and Jeroen de Cortel held station in third. Chambers eventually fell to 16, with front row mate Daniel Morris exiting early and getting 29th. So, who was the top point earners when you add everything all up? A feature race win gave René Oosterkamp the top score of 39, but only a point better than Christian Koch. A feature win a sprint race win put Jean-François Godin in third, 1 point up on Aísio Telhas, and Patrick Kessler rounds out the overlay. But that was then, and this is now. Let's go ahead and bring Joe Peak in now to talk about Montreal and what these drivers need to conquer here on these tight confines.
Thanks, Bill. This is a track probably most well known for its Formula One races, but it's kind of an oddity in that world. It's more like a street course with walls being very close. And instead of being a mix of corners like a lot of modern F1 tracks, this is essentially a slew of long straights dotted by chicanes and then connected by two hairpins. But because there's not much in the way of runoff, that means attrition will be steep today. This 2.7-mile track was actually built on a man-made island, so as you would expect, there isn't any elevation change to speak of. But don't take that to mean that this will be a boring race, because there's plenty of chances to overtake around these 13 quarters. The real question is, who's going to add their name to the long list of victims claimed by the Wall of Champions? Before we find that out, let's go hop on board the GSRC lap guide to get a feel for what the drivers will experience. All right, we've got Jed Yaman in the GSRC Formula Renault 2.0, so let's do a lap around Montreal. Coming down to turn 1, this seems like a great passing opportunity on the surface, but the way the track switches back into a hairpin makes it very difficult to complete the overtake, no matter which side you're on. Making sure you can get to the power early is really going to be the important aspect of the Senna S anyway. As the track gently curves to the right, hold to the left side as we approach turn 3. We'll have a fast entry into the chicane, but the exit is the worrisome part because there's just a wall and nothing else to the outside. Then 5 is a flat-out left-right flick, but hug the right side of the track so that you can straight line the braking for 6. Do your best to open up the second apex, because this will dump us onto the backstretch, where you're on the power for a decent amount of time. The main thing here is to keep an eye out for the bridge, because it'll give you a frame of reference on where you can line up the car to brake into turn 8. The curbs on the inside of the chicane are pretty tall, so be careful about how hard you hit them. Once again, exit speed is critical, and especially here. We're now heading into the casino hairpin, which is the only braking zone that isn't a chicane. That makes it the most straightforward place to attempt to pass. But because it's so slow into this sharp 180-degree bend, it's very common to see drivers outbrake themselves at this corner. That's where an over-under comes in handy to really frustrate your opponents. From here, it's the longest flat-out portion of the track, plunging us directly into the tightest chicane on the track. This is easily the most popular overtaking spot on the track. The draft will reel you in, and the heavy braking makes it seem possible to send one up the inside. But be careful of the Wall of Champions. Take too much curb and you could find yourself plastered all over that infamous concrete. Hopefully, you were able to keep the car off it, and as we come to the line, we've now finished a lap around Montreal.
On Jed Yaman on the wheel, Joe Peak on the mic, taking us around Montreal. Now, before we take a look at the point standings, remember, the GSRC stat boys Simon and Poindexter have done the math, compiling these totals that take into account the 2 dropped events that the rules allow for, and are now seen for the very first time anyway here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Gunnar Nienhaus of Carbon Racing holds station in the lead, boosted by his feature win at Silverstone. René Oosterkamp of Sim RC jumps 2 spots into second, 24 markers behind the leader. Christian Tkac, drive to the top, has hit a speed bump as the Red Devil Racer falls a spot to third. Christian Koch of Vector Sim Sports and Kerry Nolden of Aperture swap 4th and 5th. Right behind Nolden is his Aperture teammate Phil Reed. Green arrows for Jean-Francois Godin of Evil Sonic, Patrick Kessler of LM Rennsport, and Evan Emre of Force Fissy. Dropping 3 positions to round out the overlay is Vector's Michael Mittner. Moving to the team standings, the top 8 teams all held station. Nolden and Reed sitting 5th and 6th in the points is enough to keep Aperture out in front. 60 markers back is Tkac and Daniel Morris for Red Devil. Vector Sim Sport is holding on in 3rd. Now, Koch and Mittner are very fast, but have not had the consistent race results that equal their speed. Infinity Racing showed up on the overlay last round, and Ty McLeod and Lauren Suddenstrike de Rijk moved them up 1 more spot now into 9th. Now, Joe, we've reviewed the last race, introduced the track, gone over the driver and team championships. Let's take a look at the quite an elaborate race details here and the event details.
Absolutely. We're on Season 5 of this series, but we're on Round 9 of 12 today. Now, as you mentioned, they have 2 drop weeks that they can throw away from their score to help them out. So if they have a bad race, they can kind of get rid of it and not worry about it, but they can't have too many bad races. Now, we are in the Formula Renault 2.0 out there, as always, and they are in open setup, but even though they can tweak the car to their desire, they have 40% fuel, which means in the longer race we should expect pit stops. As I said, implied by that, there are 2 races, which mean there's 2 different winners. There's a feature race and a sprint race, and they are standing starts. There are no fast repairs, though, so if drivers get any sort of damage, they're going to be out of luck. And with a place like this where you have the long straights, you really don't want to damage the car because it is going to hurt your straight line speed immensely. Now, there is an incident cap. However, it'll vary between the sprint and the feature race. And they do have dynamic weather out there today. So today's weather, looking at 66 degrees, nice cool Canadian air weather. And then track temperature, only 90 degrees. Should be a pretty good day for racing, Bill. Now, they do have... we do have an event format as well that we need to go over for this first one, since we've got 2 races to go over. They are doing qualifying right now. They did get 3 laps by themselves that they're taking care of at the moment. This feature race is going to be the first one, 40 minutes long. They're going to have 1 pit stop. Expect that to be between lap 7 and lap 18, so pretty decently sized window. It is going to be, the grid is ordered by qualifying. And the incident cap that I mentioned, they have 17 incidents before they're disqualified. Before that, though, if they reach 13 incidents, they have their race points. So you do got to worry about not just being taken out of the race, but hurting your championship hopes. They do have standard feature race points here today. And we'll talk about the sprint race a little bit later on down the line, Bill. We got 5 minutes left in qualifying. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out with, even though it being easy to, or having some passing opportunities here, Bill, you really want to be up front to not have to try and challenge, I would think.
Yeah, I think qualifying a big deal here. And of course, with the standing start, cold tires have always been an issue where they have to really be careful early on. The track temperature of 90 degrees Fahrenheit, that's going to help them out a little bit, because that's getting up there fairly warm. Maybe they can get a little heat in the tires early. Right now, we have a surprise guy up on top, and this is Scott Newton, who often does a lot of our video guide laps around here. Right now, sitting on top in front of Christian to catch.
Yes, I was talking to Scott before the race, and he wasn't super happy with the setup and with his times at first, but he was running on race fuel, and I saw him get up, I believe it was high as 4th or 5th on race fuel during practice. So to see him come up to the pole, I'm not too shocked. However, we do still have some time left, and let me see if there's any. Yeah, we've got a number of drivers that still have laps yet to go, so he could still be toppled if he got a good early lap and other guys are maybe just getting into their rhythm here in the qualifying setups.
Looks like, I'm just doing this scanning through here, looks like our point leader, Gunnar Nienhaus, is not here today, so he'll have to use up one of those available drop weeks, but he has a few in the bank there. A few other drivers are missing up front that will go over this. Joe, a lot of times we see attrition play a big factor here at Montreal.
I think it's going to be no different here today, especially in the sprint race. You usually wouldn't expect attrition in the sprint races. Adam Tierney shows us exactly what you have to worry about at the Wall of Champions. But remember, we've got that reversed grid, Bill. And like I said, even though you've got passing opportunities here, it tends to put the cars at high risk with all these chicanes and walls right next to each other. So expect some of those passes to be attempted, not necessarily successfully.
Now, one of the things that the Formula Renault is very sensitive to, and that is the big curbing. What's the curbing like here at Montreal?
That's another thing I was asking Scott about. What he was saying was essentially it boils down to you can get away with getting on the curbing aggressively on the 2 hairpins, but all the chicanes, forget it. You really don't want to be clobbering them too hard because you want to keep the traction down. And this car, despite having a decent amount of downforce, if it starts to lose it, you can slide all over the place, and that starts to mess up the tires. You can overheat them, and that's just bad news. You want to really be in control in this car for as long as possible, keep it in good shape.
And one of the things that we have learned about is not only that the car may get out of shape, the cars are very delicate, and what will happen is the front wing will be damaged. And even though it may not slow you down, it'll get you in when you make your pit stop, because iRacing will require you to make a wing change up front, which will cost you about 5 or 6 seconds, even though you weren't really feeling it out there. So that's something they want to keep the car clean as we're looking here, and about another minute and a half left of qualifying going on.
And I'll tell you what, Bill, in my time out practicing in the car, I had a moment where I thought that I had not clipped the wall, but apparently I did. And I didn't realize that I had damage on my front wing. And you really, unless you're paying attention to your times closely, you can't tell necessarily that you're losing that time, right? Where we saw there coming down to the final chicane with Luke White. That's a big place where it's a huge long stretch, probably the fastest part of the course. And when I pulled up my timing on iRacing, it wasn't until I saw that little red bar up at the top start to get bigger and bigger and bigger that I realized, wait a minute, I'm losing a chunk of time down this straightaway. What's going on? And it turns out that wing was just sucking up all my lap time in that one straightaway, at half a second, just from a bent wing, Bill. So it is critical today to keep it clean.
Now, we won't see this in the sprint race, but in the feature race coming up, there are pit stops. And Joe, pit entry here is kind of unique, and so is pit exit can be interesting as well.
Absolutely. Pit entry is going to be important because if you're following a car that's heading in and you're kind of getting a target fixation thing going on, you got to be careful about that because you might follow them in the pits when you didn't mean to. That isn't necessarily the end of the world, but then if you try and make the corner, you're going to get a cut course most likely because you're not going to make that chicane. The exit, that's the one I really want to watch, Bill, because you can't mess around with that. There's a white line that you'll see. I don't know if we'll be able to get an above shot of here of Christian Koch. There's a white line that you can't cross over. You got to go all the way to the end of that line before you can turn into the corner on pit exit. And you're going to see it here with Koch. If you go across that line, Bill, you're going to get a black flag penalty. You have to come back in for a stop and go. That is a race ender. You're not going to get a good result with that.
Okay, qualifying is done. Let's go ahead and run down your starting grid now. It looks like we had 26 drivers show up, 26 put in times. On the pole, Scott Newton inside of Christoph Holstein, who sat on the pole last time. Christian DeCatch and Christian Koch make up the second row. Phil Reed and Renee Osterkamp, row 3. Spots 7 and 8 go to Daniel Morris and Patrick Kessler. Row number 5, Adam Tierney and Darren Potter. Joe?
Evan Imre in 11th, followed by Jeroen de Quartel in 12th, Knut Martinson in 13th. Andy Cowie will start the race in 14th, followed by Lawrence de Rijk in 15th. Kerry Nolden in 16th and Robert Plumley in 17th. Luke White will start the race in the 18th position, followed by Stevie Chambers and Urka Lindstrom in 19th and 20th.
Hidden Blackjack is Alexander Valdo, Lee Robinson in the double duck spot. Odd Jonas Vilman in the 23rd spot. And I get this one. I was hoping it would fall on Joe, but I've been working on it. Thomas Adrian Mijeresoa. That's what I'm going with that one. Silvio Hurt in 25th. Hey, 26 is Ben Scott. So 26 drivers here today.
This start's going to be interesting because these first couple of corners are kind of notorious, Bill, for causing a lot of accidents. And these cars are very frantic at the start, so I wonder if we're going to maybe lose a few before we get out of turn 2.
One of the unique features of this track, it is a clockwise track that has a left turn for the very first corner. You turn away from the center of the track, something unusual that you'll find here at Montreal. Okay, boys and girls, let's go ahead. This is round number 9 as we work the back third of the schedule. Sitting on the pole, it is Scott Newton with Christoph Holstein just outside of him. Look at that beautiful Dougie Beard camera shot as they line up 2 long strings of pearls glistening in the Canadian sun. The engines begin to rev up. The lights are off. You can hear the engines start to harmonize. There it is. They smoke away. Gather up the chicken steak covered behind the cows. The horses are out of the barn. And Scott Newton leads them down into the first corner. Christoph Holstein in second. Koch and DeCatch third and fourth side by side. Phil Reed, your top 5.
This is a surprisingly tame start. I'm glad to be surprised by that. I saw Lee Robinson and I think Stevie Chambers have a little contact. Other than that, completely clean through those first corners.
And they negotiate the first chicane nicely. Now they work their way around the back half of the track. The leaders going through 6 and 7 right now. They start to single file. The order remains the same up front.
Oh, Potter seems to have had a spin a little bit farther back in the field. We'll come back to that later though, Bill.
Now the leaders get down into 8 and 9.
Newton is certainly not streaking away. You can see that Holstein's really keeping him in check in this first lap. So I wonder if we got a close race on our hands here.
Tightest battle right now back at 5th. And boy, just getting up, that was Osterkamp getting right behind Reed. Very tight back there, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. The front guys well behaved, and they start to stretch out a bit. Newton, Holstein, Koch, and DeCatch.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see the draft come into play down here if you get close enough, the way these cars punch a hole. But it looks like nothing happening up at the front as they hit the wall of champions. This is going to be the real test here, Bill.
Osterkamp able to duck inside of Reed to get that pass done, so he moves up to 5th. The top 4 hold station. Let's run down the second back of your top 10 there. Reed now has fallen back into 6th. Well, Osterkamp got around him. Kessler, Morris, Tierney, and then rounding out your top 10, Jeroen de Quartel.
Here we see Kessler running in 7th, coming around the first set of chicane/hairpin. I never know what to call that corner. It's such a bizarre entry, and the way that it's got a hairpin and a chicane all in one. As we switch back to Cowie running 12th, looking pretty handy right now.
You can see him working through the shadows there.
And that's one thing I love about this course, Bill, is the way that it's a bit old school. It's got trees all around it. Newer courses are always worried about sight lines, but I feel like trees give an ambiance and a feel to a course that you just don't get with these barren open places.
And a good indication of how fast the cars are actually going. It gives you,
yes,
otherwise it looks
definitely.
like they're standing still when you have those stationary objects to go by. We looking at Holstein now. Remember, Holstein was the pole sitter in the feature race last time out. He's kind of shown up onto the front runners here late, and he's doing very well right now, holding down second position.
Well, the good news for Holstein is he was under threat from Koch, and Koch has dropped back just a little bit so that Christoph doesn't have to worry about it here into the final corner, which is a good overtaking spot. So they're just going to stay line astern. I understand that we have the Potter replay ready from, I believe that was lap 2?
Yeah, I think it was lap number 1. Yeah, and what the drivers are always worried about the big one, and they really avoided it. This is the really only incident that we had on the first lap, and this is Darren Potter. You see him just
coming through 6. Yeah, this is very easy to do here, Bill, because when you're braking and downshifting, you really have to be on the limit, and the rear of the car really doesn't like the way that you have to enter some of these chicanes on this course. I found it very easy to bring it around.
And I know it seems simple and something that seems obvious, but you got to tip his hat. He had the car parked in there, and he just had to sit there and let everybody go by. He didn't back it up into traffic.
Very, very critical, especially on that first lap. The temptation is there to try to get back in it right away because you know you're losing spots hand over fist, but you'll make a lot of people angry if you back up onto the course right there.
Yep. That doesn't mean we haven't seen it done more often than we'd like to.
And Silvio Hurt had a problem in the same corner, turn 6. And this was a almost identical issue, except he spun to the outside. Let's see on the replay here. Yeah, you can see the rear just starts to come around. Instead, for him, he was actually kind of lucky that the drivers behind him were really aware of what was happening with Silvio and stayed it tucked to the inside. He could just continue on, only losing a couple spots. But I think that corner is already proving to be a bit of a tricky place this race, as we see a battle here going on for 19th.
Yeah, they're running pretty single file up there. Let's go back and look at that one back there where it's really... In fact, let's go up to 17th real quick. This is Plumley being challenged by Lindstrom. Lindstrom's going to back out of it. Then we drop back to the one that we were looking at. Billman is going to duck inside of Chambers. Chambers loses a spot there going into that final chicane. No, that was in Quebec. That was...
Yeah, down into the wall of champions there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's something's happening with De Rijk.
I think White had trouble. No, White got into it. Now, sudden strike to Reich and Luke White got together. Is that corner number 1, it looks like?
It is, yeah.
Left-right combination.
Turns 1 and
here.
2, the Senna S. What happened here? Oh, just started to lose it. And it looks like White was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was making a great move there. Oh, no, excuse me, not White, but De Rijk was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was doing everything right, trying to come back at him. It's just unfortunate for him that White started to lose the rear.
Looking up front for anybody that has made a move, I think the most aggressive driver, maybe we can go into 6th position, which is Oosterkamp. Now, Oosterkamp was up trying to make a run up. He's now fallen back one.
And we got some time in scoring problems because White was towed, yeah.
There we go. So it is 5th position. I think that'll clear up here in a second. He's been the hardest charger. He's been on the back of Tkach. He's fallen back a little bit. And, of course, I'm talking about Oosterkamp once he got around Reed. Other than that, they're pretty much, we talked about how hard passing can be. They're pretty much running in the same order that they started.
What's interesting, though, is pretty much everybody from 1st down to about 7th are all within a second of each other. That gap has opened up just a little bit for Holstein. He had a horrible exit coming out of 2 now, and that's put him back into Koch once again. But other than that, these top guys are really tight together.
It really could all come down to pit stops when we look there at Koch.
Yeah, I would not put it past someone having either a lucky stop with iRacing sort of random factor or just really maximizing their entry and exit. I'll tell you what, though, Koch has got the bit between his teeth now that Christoph has made that mistake. He's putting the pressure on.
One of the things we didn't talk much about is finish. We're looking at Tierney right now.
Now
he had a spin, and nobody got him, and he got turned all the way around. Everyone gets around him, but he's going to lose spots. He was racing about in 9th position or 8th position when he spun.
I wonder if he got a little bit of that sausage curve on the inside. Let's watch here. I wonder if we can go on board. We're going to stay off board for now. Yeah, I'd say so. Looks like he just clipped it. And that goes back to what I was talking about in the pre-race, Bill. you got to really flirt with disaster, get right up to the curbs, but not hit them. Because when you're driving on the limit in these cars, as we see a battle here for second place.
And there's Koch. Has gotten around Holstein.
Nicely done. That is a lot harder than you would think coming in through the Senna S build, because the way the track switches back, no matter which side you attack on, the other driver can defend if they can just hold on to it.
And now Holstein's not out of trouble yet, because right behind him is Tkach.
See what Tkach can do. Wonder if maybe Holstein used up a bit of his tires in that battle and that put him on the back foot. Look at him stay defensive coming down the backstretch. He comes back to the line now. Knows that he's not going to threaten him. He's close, though. This is going to be the best opportunity because it's the only braking zone that isn't into a chicane here into the casino hairpin.
Let's see what type of line Holstein takes. He stays to the outside. Tkach doesn't force the issue. Now they have one more shot down here if Tkach can get a good run out of the hairpin.
Well, unfortunately for Tkach, Holstein's actually holding on to the back of Koch now, so he might get a whiff of the draft, and that'll kind of negate things for Tkach. And actually, he ducks out of the draft. That's unusual. These cars don't typically have overheating problems, do they?
No, I don't believe so. You're looking at the primary colors racing up front there in second position. The blue car is Koch, the yellow car is Holstein, and then the red car is Tkach.
I hate to break it to you, that's a green car in the middle.
Oh, jeez.
Close, though. You've got not RGB, I guess, yeah.
There we go. Holstein in the green car.
Still very tightly together. And this battling is allowing Newton to really start to streak away. He's got 2 seconds over these guys. Not a lot of action among these three right now. Just kind of waiting for a mistake. Oh, and they might have it here for Tkach. A great opportunity. Looks like Holstein was wide coming through 6 and 7. Going to go side by side down into the next chicane, Bill.
Now, if he can hold the position here, he'll be on the outside, but then he'll be on the inside. But nope. Holstein able to come across the nose. Tkach will have to wait.
And I was surprised that Tkach didn't try to get the run out of the chicane with the way that Holstein had to have a compromised entry, but I guess Holstein was just wise enough coming off the corner, coming way wide. That's going to hand it over. Or is it?
Well, he might have had a little more momentum with that horrible line through the hairpin, but I don't think Tkach is done yet. He's going to try to tuck back in. Should be close enough to get a little taste. Let's see if he forces the issue here into this chicane. He gets there, Joe.
Got the nose in, but can he get it done? He's got to be brave on the brakes, and I think Holstein facilitates the pass here. He knows that he shouldn't fight any longer on this one, especially now that they've got Oosterkamp closing up as we look off the rear of Tkach. Yeah, he is well under threat.
Not over yet as they go down now into the first corners.
This has got to be frustrating for Holstein. Remember, he was in second place a few laps ago. Now he's in fourth and looking like maybe he could even lose that position to Oosterkamp.
Now, just to illustrate how hard the passing is going on, let's drop back to 22nd position real quick. It's Ben Scott. The only reason I'm talking about this, he's our hard charger right now. He's up... qualified in 26, running in 20. He's up 4 spots. And that's because he qualified so far back. But that's our hard charger.
A monumental 4,
yes.
Bill. Yeah, that's... Let's go to Phil Reed, though, because, oh, wow, just really threatening Patrick Kessler down into 8 and 9. Not able to do it there. He's got to worry, though, because behind Reed, Morris and De Quartel are starting to catch them.
Boy, look at Reed trying to find a way. Look behind him now, making a tuck on the inside. We talked about Quartel. He's going to lose this spot. That was... No, that is De Quartel. They are very close. That's Morris. Yeah, Daniel Morris side by side. Morris on the outside. Quartel on the inside.
De Quartel left just a car's width to the curb there for Morris. And now, look at this. Still side by side coming down to the last chicane, and Morris lifts. Once again, we're seeing a little bit of gentlemanly racing. Drivers not wanting to risk the car through these chicanes.
Oh, boy, he gets very close to the wall there, but I think he's okay. So De Quartel is going to pick up that spot. He started that lap in 9th. He's going to come across now in 8th.
Phil Reed wasn't able to get Kessler coming through there, and that battle that was happening just in front of them there. You can see now that we've picked him up. We're not missing anything up at the front, as it's still Newton, Koch to catch Holstein, Osterkamp.
So we talked about the cars. Let's take the second, maybe go back to 10th position, run back some of these guys we haven't highlighted very much. Kerry Nolden running back there in 10th. He's got about a 2-second lead over Imre, who's in a battle with the milkman, Andy Cowie. Those guys are battling for 11th to 12th. Still not that much of a fight going on there. Kmart, the Orange Viking, running in 13th. Of course, I'm talking about Knut Martinson. Robert Sugar Plumley back there in 14th, again, all by himself. And then rounding out that next 5, Eric Lindstrom.
Yeah, mid-pack's really getting separated. About the only thing close between them right now is Cowie and Imre, with about half a second between them.
Excuse me while I interrupt myself, but let me correct myself there. It's Erka Lindstrom. Of course, we have an Eric Lindstrom that we call in the Absolute Beginner League. They are not related.
Oh, and some side-by-side action here with Kessler coming into the final chicane. Oh, and Osterkamp decides he's going to come in. We are... How many laps are we into this thing, actually?
Yeah, 10 laps with about 25 to go, so not quite to the halfway mark.
Cowie coming in there. You can see at the back of the screen. Couple of early takers, but not many so far. I'm guessing that's just a track position thing that
go to... Can we go back just a little bit? Kessler got into the... Oh, that was before Osterkamp came in. Osterkamp just got tagged by Kessler right before he came in during the hairpin. I think that might be what inspired Osterkamp to come in. We're going to look and see if we can get it, because this might have been what encouraged him. Maybe he picked up a little damage and come in and get that fixed. Now watch, there's Kessler just gets into the back of him.
Oh, he got chopped off at the nose, too, I'd say. Let's watch on board, see what it looks like from his position. When we come back, Phil Reed's in a great battle, though. Oh, yeah, he came from a long way back, though.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked that he went for that apex. Meanwhile, right now, Phil Reed side by side with both Kessler and De Quartel, and they're both going to come out on top. Where Reed got a great run off the corner. I think we're going to see that a lot, Bill. It seems like if you can pinch the inside car and keep your momentum up, you can keep them under threat coming down this backstretch.
Now Reed has him kind of pinned in. Oh, he comes across. Quartel wanted to get a good angle in, and boy, he really closes up on the back of Kessler.
Oh, De Quartel botched that final chicane horribly. So here comes Reed once again, going to take advantage. He'll have the inside. Now watch this, Bill. This is a good example of what I mentioned. If De Quartel holds around the outside, and no, he doesn't. If he did, he would have had the inside for this chicane, and he could have defended, but I don't know if he didn't want it or if he just wasn't brave enough on the brakes.
Reed set that pass up, coming all the way in before they got even to 13 or 14 there. He had De Quartel pinned to the inside. Quartel had to come out to try to get an angle. Didn't have much rhythm going into that final chicane. Good racing, though. Some real good racing.
And one thing we should point out, if we could go back to Osterkamp, he just overtook Ben Scott, and I think he also got Lee Robinson recently. With him pitting early, what I wanted to talk about, Bill, this puts him back in the thick of traffic. This is going to hurt his lap times. That's why I think we're not seeing a lot of these top guys coming into pit, because they know that if their competitor stays out long, they could just keep running hot laps.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that, and that's what. Why would he come in so early? But then after I saw the contact in the hairpin, maybe he thought, come in and if there was any damage.
Phil Reed, wow, had a huge moment coming around the hairpin. I'm not sure if, I think he had a bit of contact from behind with De Quartel, giving him a tap, nearly sending him around.
That's Reed, right? He was following Kessler. Yeah, De Quartel got into him. He did a good job of not losing any momentum. I don't think he's going to lose that spot. And he comes into the pits. Yeah, he comes in as well. So apparently that's the indication to come into the pits if you get tagged in the hairpin.
Oh, battle between Morris and Nolden. Nolden's got the inside coming down into the first corner. There we see it on screen now, and he's going to take it cleanly. I'm surprised at how many of these passes into the first corner are really working out. My experience has always been it's just so tough to make it work.
Oh, that must have been my mistake. I thought I saw Phil Reed come in. I guess he did not come in, did he? I guess not. He did.
Reed's in, and he's back out now. He's coming out in 12th position.
Right, that's what... So he is... I'm looking at Osterkamp is running in 18th. Remember, they were in the same ballpark, but Reed has crushed him as far as pit stop times. That one got me so confused.
Osterkamp, we think, had damage, though, so I wonder if that made his pit stop just that little bit longer, and maybe why he's farther back. We'll need to find someone who might not have had to do repairs to get a really accurate reading.
Yeah. Reed was in there. His time in the box was 4.6 seconds compared to Osterkamp. Oh, yeah. He was in there for 14 seconds. Clearly damaged. And remember, that's what we saw in the hairpin there where he got punted or... it looked like a punt. Yeah, he got tapped.
Just a kiss. Meanwhile, back up front, our leader, Newton, has about 2.5 seconds over Koch. What kind of lap times are they doing, though? Let me take a look to see if he is running him down at all.
With Holstein and Reed out of the picture, that does take some of the pressure off of... I'm sorry, with Osterkamp and Reed out of the picture, that takes some of the pressure off Holstein, who was being challenged with those guys earlier.
You know, it looks like that Koch is actually just slightly faster than Newton, but he's only reeling him in maybe a 10th every other lap. So it's extremely minimal between these two. They're very closely matched, but if Newton makes a mistake, Koch could be on top of him.
Phil Reed, the leader of all the cars who have pitted, currently running in 11th spot. Top 10 drivers obviously have not pitted yet.
Boy, these top 5 are really starting to spread apart here. We see as we jump back to catch. He and Holstein have separated by about 2.5 seconds, and Decourtel is a whole 7 seconds behind Holstein.
Leader heading down to pit entrance now. I'm not going to fall for it. They fool me all the time because it's hard to tell, but is he turning in? Yep, he's turning in. Looks like all the leaders are going to go around one more time.
So
and again, Joe, I guess with clear track ahead of you and you're running good, there's no reason to come in until you're out of fuel.
Yeah, I don't think these guys need to worry about the undercut of someone pitting early behind them and trying to get some fast laps in. You might be able to get a few with your tires wearing out, but you're going to have to be extremely close to be able to try and jump them. Meanwhile, looking back at Koch in second.
Lee Robinson had an issue just right there. He was following right behind Ben Scott. Remember we talked about Scott before. Robinson, I think, was worried about a closing speed that was in the Wall of Champions.
I think Robinson Robinson actually pitted this last lap.
Yeah, I must have jumped back too far. I heard a crash. I went back to there. Sorry about that, director.
Newton looking very comfortable out in front right now, just kind of rifling off the laps. It's going to be a different story when we get that reverse grid. I'm wondering to see how he fares having to deal with traffic, because remember, he's been up front for this whole race. He hasn't had to overtake anybody.
24 cars still on the lead lap. Of course, that's going to change once the pit stops are made. Well, actually, all the 24 cars that are racing that are still out there that are in contention are all on the lead lap right now, even the drivers who have pitted.
Decently long lap around here. That's one thing about these F1 tracks, Bill, is even though these Formula Renaults are pretty fast, it's a long lap around here.
Leaders stay out one more time, and we'll run those down for you again.
Oh, and Decourtel comes in. This is another one of our front runners.
Newton, Koch, to catch, and Holstein. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see how Decourtel fares. Remember, Reed was in that mix. In fact, if memory serves, I can read my notes. I think it was Decourtel that gave one of the drivers a little bit of a shot. I
believe it was Reed that he got into the back of Reed, and Reed just passed the entrance to the pits. Where's Decourtel? Decourtel's coming out of his stall now.
Reed at full song. I think he's going to get him.
Oh, he's got him. Yeah. You do get a little bit of a shortcut with this pit exit, but not that much. So Decourtel's going to come out behind him, and just with... Is that Potter? Yeah, Darren Potter. And if Potter doesn't pit soon. Oh, what's happening to second place? Coke. Coke had a horrible run through turns 8 and 9. You're going to see here, To Catch is going to catch him here. There's Coke.
Actually, he put it in the wall. I think he actually got the outside of the wall.
Oh, yeah. We just saw it on the replay. He was trying desperately to save it, and the car just didn't want to survive that tank slapper, and it slipped into the concrete.
He would have saved it. He just didn't have enough room. He ran out of track to gather it up.
What was that old quote? I didn't run out of track. I ran out of talent.
All right, Newton is in.
And Coke is in. He's probably getting that damage repaired. This is going to send him down the order if he has to have anything fixed on that suspension.
And we're seeing some damage on Newton as well, so we'll see if this is going to be a long stop. Even though the car was fast, iRacing may make him stay in there and repair it. It seemed pretty quick, so Newton is rolling.
You know, I'm a little bit surprised, Bill. We talked about attrition being pretty big. We only have 2 cars that are out right now. Yep. I expected way more than that. And we've taken till now to see some of the front runners really fall by the wayside due to mistakes that sent them in. I think we're seeing a lot of drivers running less than 100% just to get to the finish here.
Now, you can look at this as interesting. Nolden got out just in front of Reed. And, Joe, you talked about the pit entrance. It's really funny because if you're on the track, you do a little weave, and it looked like he was going to blow by him. And then you get a little bit of a shortcut out of pit exit.
That's actually Coke that's trying to defend from Reed. That's not Nolden.
Oh, it is. It's Coke. You're right.
We said it was going to send him down the order, and it did because Reed was well far back from Coke. He backs out of the move, though. I wonder how damaged Coke is if his car isn't handling well after that, because even if you get repairs, it doesn't guarantee that the car is going to be perfect afterwards. I'm surprised that Reed wasn't more aggressive on him. He might not know that he had damage.
To Catch stays out, as does Holstein.
Newton currently from the lead after his pit stop is in 6th.
Nolden now running in 3rd, Morris in 4th. They are all staying out.
Naturally, Newton is the highest driver who has pitted. I think To Catch is really the only one that could maybe do something in that, but I don't think he's going to leapfrog him, maybe close the gap in his pit stops at best.
Look there at To Catch.
Oh.
It's Lee Robinson? Are we looking? Do I have
yeah, Lee Robinson had a big error there, and I think that was in 8 and 9. Did he touch the wall here? I didn't quite see the screen at the time.
I think he nosed in. I think he just nosed it in. Boink.
Just the slightest of touches. But like I said, that can really hurt your race. Even though he's already far behind, that's just going to set him further back. So any hopes of maybe catching cars that will have problems ahead of him, this is going to make it all the more difficult with that damage on the wing that he got from that.
Now, if we go quickly here, so here comes the pit stop. If we go to Newton right now, he's been kind of stuck behind Martinson, so his lap times have not been great. And here comes To Catch in the pits, so we'll see if he can get out in front of Newton.
And there we see Newton and Martinson on screen. I wonder if the aero wake is hurting him just that much. Oh, but now he's been freed because Newt comes into the pit.
To Catch is just getting to his box right now, but it'll be fast.
And it's not enough because there goes Newton. Easily by. So, Newton doesn't inherit the lead quite yet, but his main competitor that he needed to worry about in the pit stops, To Catch, is no longer a threat. All Newton needs to do is get to the end from here.
To Catch out well in front of the battle we were watching between Coke and Reed, though. So, Coke and Reed, I believe, are going to cycle into 3rd and 4th once everything plays out, if I'm correct on this. Well, Nolden is still out there. Has Nolden made his stop yet? No. Holstein, Nolden, and Morris still to come in.
There we see Nolden on screen, working his way through 8 and 9, now down to the casino hairpin. Most drivers have come in for their stops. I was just looking through. We've only got 3 drivers left who haven't made theirs.
And honestly, these guys are on the same straight as
Holstein's in.
Newton. Yeah, these are all coming in. Newton is right behind these guys. He's about to pass them even before the pit stops. So Holstein is in. I would think that, yeah, here comes Nolden.
And Morris.
And Morris.
That's because we're on lap 18. This is probably the absolute farthest these guys could go before they run out of fuel.
And going by them as they still get to their boxes, Newton right now going a long way back. Tkach is going to get all 3 of those guys. Koch and Reed, this may be a little more interesting. We'll see if they can get him.
Reed's holding on to him. He's not close enough to threaten right now.
Now Holstein is rolling out of the pit box, and I think he's going to be able to get out in front of Koch. Holstein, yeah, he's negotiated. Koch still has to work 1 and 2. So Holstein's going to file into 3rd behind Tkach.
Yeah. That is exactly how it's played out. Everybody's made their pit stop, so your order is Newton, Tkach, Holstein, Koch, and Reed for your top 5. And Reed, like I said, I'm surprised that he wasn't more aggressive when he came out right behind Koch, because now that he's lost a little bit of a gap, he's going to have less opportunities to try and get by. He really probably should have tried to put him a position down while he could and just try to fend him off. My theory on that, Bill, is goes back to the whole, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask permission. Yeah. And that's the way it is with passing. When you get that opportunity, you don't want to be timid. You need to go for it, especially with these cars, and then just try to defend from there on out.
Right on board now with Koch. He's got Reed behind him. You can see Reed well back behind him.
Yeah, Reed had a horrible exit out of the casino hairpin. And that just shows you from that onboard that we saw, that was 1 second, Bill. That looked like a long way for 1 second. Yeah. Oh no, and Reed enters his name onto the wall of champions, Bill.
See how hurt he was that he's going to lose spots and see if he can milk it around for these final 10 minutes. You call it, Joe.
Just that second curb. We saw it on the replay. You can take the first curb and get away with it. The second one, the left-hander, you do that, you upset the car, you run the risk of slamming into the wall. That's exactly what happened to Phil.
It just seems to me to be fast here, you got to race it on the edge.
You really do.
Every once in a while it bites you.
And that's the balance that these drivers... Well, what happened?
The leader's had trouble.
He loses the lead to Tkach. This is in turn 8 and 9.
A self-spin. He gives it up. Christian's going to take it. He's going to get out in 2nd position.
He didn't touch
Holstein's behind him. No.
He didn't touch a curb or anything. Just, it looks like he came in too hot. And around she goes.
Had this over-rotated on that first time through.
Wow. Did not expect that. Newton looks so cool and calm up at the front this whole time. Now Tkach has it all to lose at this point. He has to try and not make the same mistakes. And look at this, Holstein already on top of Newton. Still about a second up to him. Let's see if he can close the gap.
Joe, when you spin a car like that in iRacing, are the tires upset by doing donuts like that, or does it get back to you pretty quick?
I don't know if this car brings them back because I don't have that much running, but I do know immediately after, yes, the tires tend to be really hot. Got to be careful. If you immediately try and over the car to make up time, it's just going to make it worse. You're probably going to spin again. So right now, Scott's probably, if he's smart, kind of underdriving it just a little bit, being easy in certain corners, not trying to spin them on corner exit.
So let's catch our breath for a second, and we'll set up maybe the entire top 10 for you. We talked about Tkach. He's got the lead. He's about 4 seconds up. Then the battle we were looking at. This is Newton, who had the lead, did the spin. He's up by about 1.1 second. And honestly, Holstein is gaining on him. So we'll keep an eye on that one in 3rd. Back in 4th position is Koch. He's racing all by himself. He's got about 4 seconds back before he gets to carry Nolden. Again, Nolden pretty much racing on his own. There is a nice battle coming up in a minute. Cortell running in 6th position. Then it's not that far back to Kessler. running in 7th as he goes beneath the underpass right there. And this is a nice little 3-car battle. Osterkamp involved in this as well, running in 8th. Daniel Morris in 9th. And rounding out your top 10, how about the milkman, Andy Cowie, up 4 spots from 14th, now running in 10th.
And one of those, he's just got Phil Reed, who's given up more of them. Remember that damage he got from the Wall of Champions? Yep. He is crawling. That's 2 more spots, 3 spots in this one lap that he's gone down. I'm thinking Phil needs to just come in and get repairs, because by the end of this race, he's just going to be in last place. He's not going to be able to hold on to this.
Yeah, in that, even through the hairpin, he took a wide run just to let Kmart go by and Evan Emre as well.
And he's staying out. He's going to try and limp this thing around. Oh, but he's got a battle ahead of him. Emre with a great run through the final corner on Martinson.
Emre on the going to have the preferred line right now.
And he's fully clear by the time they hit turn 1.
And I got big news. 23rd position. This wouldn't seem like it's big news if this was current. Silvio Hurt just spun. I believe he was going to actually be on the lead lap. He's going to be a lap down now, I think. He was the last car on the lead lap. Is he still out?
No, Tkach is still behind him.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be fascinating. If this stays like that, we'll have, what, only 3 cars gridded behind our
yeah, basically,
leader?
Only cars who have had trouble. Robinson, Tierney, and White. We saw Tierney and White had the issue right away.
Christian, well, basically all of our leaders are going to have their work cut out for them if that's the case as we jump back to 7th. Nice little battle going on here. Everyone very closely in line between De Cortel, Kessler, and Osterkamp.
They work through the hairpin right. Whoops. They go down now, heading out of the hairpin into 13 and 14.
Great run from Kessler. He's all over the back of Cortel. Cortel stays defensive. Oh, and he lifts. He facilitated that one. Oh, but he's going to get another bite at it. Switches right back. De Cortel getting a beautiful run out of the corner, almost touching wheels as they come down the front stretch. Is he going to try and hold around the outside? Can't quite do it.
And loving that is Osterkamp, who really pulls up right behind him.
Yeah, Osterkamp in the popcorn position for sure. I'm surprised he's not trying to stick his nose in this. And once again, De Cortel not able to do anything on Kessler. Ooh, did De Cortel touch the wall coming out of turn 5, though? 4, rather? Oh, whoa, here comes Osterkamp down the inside. Got to stay out of the car in front of him, though. Still side by side, down through 7. De Cortel managed to deny him. I'm not sure how, but wow, good stuff between these 3, Bill.
That is a fight for 6th position. Kessler out in front right now. Look at the run now. Here comes De Cortel, or Osterkamp, watching the whole thing. On the inside is Kessler. Moving on the outside is De Cortel. They go 2 by 2 through the hairpin. Now let's watch the momentum from the outside line. He has trouble getting the power down, though. De Cortel has a run.
Osterkamp's doing the perfect thing right here. Just stayed behind, waited for the draft. Oh, he's going to get squeezed. Did they touch? Oh, he's wiggling the car to see if he got any damage from it. That or he's trying to shake his car instead of his fist at him. I'm not sure which.
But he has a good run out of Quebec now. He'll have the preferred line going into 1. This left-hander, and Osterkamp outbreaks him. Can he get a woad up? I think he does. Give that spot to Osterkamp now, moves up into 7th.
Bill, this is the racing equivalent of a couple of boxers just not worrying about putting their gloves up. They're just trading blows between these 3. Here he comes at him again. Look at this. Around the outside of 6. De Cortel can't quite get it done, but he might get the run off the corner here. Just look at how these cars are wiggling under power. You can tell that they are taking them to the absolute limit. Osterkamp staying to the inside once again, just putting them right in the middle of the road to 9. Any sort of opportunity for De Cortel. And all this fighting, Morris is now on them, Bill.
Yeah, it's had a twofold effect. It has allowed Kessler to pull away, and it has allowed Morris to get in there. So what was once a 3-car battle continues to be a 3-car battle. It's just that the performers have switched around a bit.
See what Morris can do now that he's closed up. They're a little bit too far apart for the draft to give them a chance down in the final chicane here, which is probably the breather that these guys have wanted. And I think we're at 2 to go, Bill.
Yeah, let's go up to the leader because I do have big news. Silvio Hurt was passed. That is huge. That's going to make him start in 23rd position instead of being on pole. That's Crusher. It looks to me like Alexander Valdo is going to be safe to be on the pole position when they invert instead of Stevie Chambers.
You can see Valdo working his way around. I think you're right. Unless he makes a mistake, he's going to be starting in first. So everybody knows where Waldo is now.
That was good. Let's go back to 6th position. We're on it looking at Osterkamp. This is a good battle. Osterkamp has a shot at Kessler. Kessler qualified 8th, up a couple spots. Osterkamp qualified 6th, is actually down a spot because he had that issue.
This is a pretty decent recovery from Osterkamp to come back after getting those repairs.
To catch working his way around, he'll be taking the white flag this time.
I think to catch, if he can just bring it home. I don't want to curse him yet with him needing to do one more lap, but he's got to be thinking he's got either a rabbit's foot in there or 4-leaf clover or something. He had a lot of luck. He was not really catching Newton, and things just swung his way. But the credit to Christian really is that when it did happen, he didn't bobble. He didn't worry about what was going on. He just plowed on through and rifled off the laps. That's what you got to do when you're in second, Bill. Even if you don't think there's any hope, keep pushing, keep giving it your all, because you don't know what's going to happen in racing. As we got a battle here with Kessler. Osterkamp tried it around the outside, didn't work.
Now they head into 3 and 4. This is their last time around.
I think we're going to see a very aggressive Renault here. Oh, gets chopped off. It's pretty much single file through turn 5. Not surprised he didn't try and stick his nose in.
Yeah, that's an awfully hard place to make a pass there, but let's see what kind of run he gets here. Osterkamp has the pace. Oh, and I think he's in the toe right now. I think he's got a shot. He might be a little too far back to get there before the chicane. Watch it down into the hairpin. We'll keep an eye on the leaders. They have just negotiated the hairpin. They have the Wall of Champions to go. We can stay on this for a while.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on them. Down into the hairpin. He's not going to be close enough unless he sends it in from way back, which is what caused him to be in this position in the first place, is a driver coming in from way far behind.
But up front, let's give the lead and the round number 9. The feature race win goes to Christian to catch in the Apex Online Racing Formula 2.0 Championship. Newton gets second. Holstein gets third. Let's go back and see what's up with Kessler. One last shot at it. Oh! Osterkamp gets loose. He loses one position to Cortel. He's going to lose another one to Daniel Morris. Dave Cortel, Morris coming in 7th and 8th. Osterkamp is going to round out in, I guess, what's going to be 9th officially.
That is gutting. Let's look at the replay. I wonder if maybe he came in hotter than he expected and was trying desperately to stay out of Kessler. You're going to see him close up onto the braking. Was trying to maybe send it in deep, or did he touch the grass maybe? Oh, looks like he touched the grass, and that's what sent him around. And that, Bill, is a perfect example of every corner matters. You cannot make mistakes.
So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a short break here on the Global Sim Racing channel, but don't go far because remember, this is a double header. So when we come in during the break between races, we will run down the entire finishing order, talk to some drivers who want to talk and chat with us, and then we'll come back and cover the entire 25-minute feature race, or sprint race that will follow. Back in a few. Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the Apex Online Racing's Formula Renault 2.0 Championship, round number 9 from Montreal. Like I always say, the best part of any doubleheader event is the break between races. It's the perfect blend of post-race high and pre-race jitters. And right now, let's take the opportunity to run down the finishing order of the 40-minute feature race that we just saw. He started in third position. He bided his time. He waited for the opportunities, and when they came up, he took them. Christian Tkach gets the win. Scott Newton had the win until he made a mistake, but let's give a hats off to him for not making matters worse. He was able to salvage second place. Christoph Holstein started in second position, brings it home in third. Christian Koch behind him. Kerry Nolden rounds out your top 5. Your next 5 is part of this battle that we saw. Patrick Kessler, Jeroen Decourtel, Daniel Morris. Now, Decourtel and Morris all got positions when Rene Oosterkamp spun it going into the final chicane. He was able to salvage 9th position. Then rounding out your top 10 is the milkman, Andy Cowie. Joe?
In 11th, Knut Martinsen was followed by Evan Embray. In 12th, Robert Plumley comes home in the unlucky 13. Phil Reed, probably the one that's feeling the most unlucky, slotted all the way down to 14th. I'm impressed that he managed to salvage that because he looked very slow towards the end. Urkel Lindstrom finishes in 15th, followed by Darren Potter in 16th. Lawrence de Rijk in 19th. Jonas Villeman in 18th. Ben Scott in 19th. And rounding out the top 20 is Thomas Andriami Harisoa.
Boy, if GSRC pays us by the syllable, Joe's going to be a rich man after that last name. Stevie Chambers, Alexander Valdo, Silvio Hurt, Lee Robinson. It should be pointed out that I get that Stevie Chambers and Alex Valdo are going to be starting on the front row. Those are the last 2 cars on the lead lap. Waldo is going to be our pole sitter. Silvio Hurt, Lee Robinson. Now, Hurt actually got past. He's the only driver who was actually out there racing that didn't finish on the lead lap. He just lost it at the very end. Then these final drivers, Lee Robinson, Adam Tierney, and Luke White, we documented that incident. And Joe, for what we thought would be an attrition-filled race, how about these drivers? What a clean race.
Absolutely, and that's the thing is they made us look like fools a bit today because we kept doomsaying and saying, oh man, there's going to be all these problems going on. But yeah, like I said, I wonder, as I was watching the race, I kind of wondered if maybe a few of the drivers were running at 95, 98% rather than 100% just to try to get through this, thinking they could pick off positions. I guess they were disappointed, but in some cases, we did see some front runners falling by the wayside with problems.
And one of those drivers, you talked about racing 95%. I got a feeling that Scott was racing 100%. Scott, you have a copy? Oh, man, you gave one away.
Yeah, definitely. Just going through turn 8 and 9, probably going out at 110%. And, yeah, that's what put me around, unfortunately, and cost me 8 seconds. So.
You know, Joe and I were talking about just the characteristics of Montreal. You really have to race... To have any speed at all, you really have to race on the edge. It's just ready to bite you at any chicane, any corner, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with some of the extremely high curbs that you'll have to avoid in the Formula Renault. It's pretty much just go as close as you can, and like the only really curb that you can take is the turn 1 little kink there and the hairpin. But yeah, you pretty much have to go as close as you can to all the others to get the maximum out of it. So,
Scott, I know you were a little worried in practice about where your times were looking, but then when it came to qualifying, you stuck it on pole. Was that just down to you finding something, or do you think pulling the race fuel out and putting it into qualifying mode, did you expect that?
To be honest, it was a combination of things. One, taking the fuel out. 20 litres might not sound much, but probably worth about 2-3 tenths of a second per lap, depending on the track. And yeah, just not locking up and overheating the tyres to give the grip is probably where I found that extra tenth. Because I think I did a 0.3 in practice, and then I managed to do a pretty much a 33 dead. So no, pretty stoked to get a first pole position, and just unfortunately I couldn't convert it to a win. So, but yeah, on to the next one, and yeah, try and get the win from there.
Commiserations on that. Bill?
Is this, Scott? Is this a track? You're usually a front runner. In fact, we thank you for all the work you do on our many of our video guides, our lap demonstrations. Is this a track though? You sat on the pole. Is this one of your favorite tracks? Are you usually fast here?
To be honest, I'm usually mid-pack.
Yeah.
Compared to the guys that normally race the Formula Renault Top Split official races and the World Championship support races, usually I'm back into the top 5. So, just with some of the guys not here, like Gunnar and Yannick and the other guys that couldn't make it today, I probably would have been a few places back from where I was today.
Well, we wish you good luck. Now, look, you got a second place. You can still win the day. You know, we do the point standings at the beginning of every broadcast where we add up the sprint and the feature race points. So try to salvage yourself a good sprint race. That way you'll be on the top of that graphic when we go to round number 10.
Yeah, definitely will be trying to, and yeah, I'll be missing the final round at Monza, so I'm pretty much out of the championship from where I am. I think I'm back into the top 15, so yeah, it's just pretty much go hard or go home in terms of the points at the moment. So,
well, good luck to you, and avoid the first lap big one, and see what you can get.
No worries, cheers, fellas. Scott
Newton, our pole sitter in the feature race, coming home in second here today. We have another interview. Do we want to go ahead and talk to Phil Reed real quick? Phil, it started off good, then it kind of got sour on you there. You started 5th, coming home in 14th. It was a tough one for you.
Yeah, thought I'd wrap my feature race and my sprint race luck all into one this time, and it seemed to happen. Yeah, no, it was a difficult start, I think. Didn't really feel like I had the patience. I let a few guys go because I didn't really want to be holding off. And then I saw that actually people weren't really pulling away. The guys that I let through had caught them, but then the other guys ahead just weren't able to get away. So I was actually in a nice little train there for a while. Made a mistake early on, which just dropped me back a bit. But then I seemed to have some pretty decent pace following behind Patrick. And it was looking good. Came into the pits. I think a load of the other people seemed to have a bad pit stop. And then I came out and I was in 5th. And then decided that crashing into the wall of champions was more fun.
Well, you're not the first one to have trouble there. Was the car then, it was pretty much this limp at home those last 5 minutes after you made that mistake?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was 3 seconds a lap slower, and I was just trying to keep it together without making a big mistake. I didn't want to go a lap down and have a big accident. Wanted to stay on the lead lap. Obviously, one for the sprint race, 2 to score as many points as I could in this feature. You know, I had a good end to the race with Urka. That was quite fun. I thought, that's it. He's got me. You know, I thought I'd try to defend anyway, and then he made the mistake in the advantage game. I was able to cut back. So that was good fun. You know, I was aiming to get as high as I could, and yeah.
Well, the session is up in for the sprint race, so we'll let you go. Go in there, have yourself a good result, and try to get a good points day.
Thank you very much.
Phil Reed. Okay, what we're going to do right now is take a short break. We'll be back, though, to cover the entire sprint race that's going to follow in just a few minutes. You're watching the Global Sim Racing Channel. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the Apex Online Racing Formula Renault 2.0 Championship, round number 9 from Montreal. We just wrapped up the 40 minutes feature race that had a pit stop involved in it. Now what we're going to do is invert. Well, we're going to let Joe tell you about what's in store for us right now. Maybe we can bring up that graphic. And Joe, tell us what's going on here.
Absolutely. This is going to be a 25-minute lap race. This is our information at the bottom that you can see. No pit stop. And they are inverting the results of the previous race except for the drivers that finished a lap down. And that's why we kept going on about that, is because we had so few drivers that finished not on the lead lap that means our leaders have way more drivers to try and work their way through to get up to the front. 13 incident cap on this one instead of 17, and you are DQ'd. So there's no just having your points and then worrying about being disqualified. You go straight to being disqualified. And they have fewer points in this one than in the feature event. So there is some consolation, even if you don't get a good finish because you were slotted towards the back, Bill, because there aren't as many points on the line in this one.
And it does give us a chance to talk about some of the drivers that didn't get a lot of attention in the feature race that will be starting up front right now. What they're doing is out there practicing right now. And of course, the practice is only just to get familiar with the track. It's going to be the same weather that they had in the race before. That's not going to change. So they'll know what's going on there. They're just coming in, getting used to what's going on. And this one, if you're new to the Apex Online Racing series, this is about avoiding the big one, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. The problem here, Joe, unlike other tracks where if there's an issue, they bounce away. With the close confines, if you happen to get off track, there's a good chance you can bounce right back in front of the group.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they have a big one here, Bill, that's going to be pretty much everybody behind it, at least unless you're really good on the brakes and are patient enough to let everybody escape out. Now, here's hoping that doesn't happen, that maybe everybody stays patient. We were surprised last time, Bill. They had a lot of drivers that managed to stay clean. So maybe we're seeing a little bit wiser group here in AOR. Maybe a lot of these Formula Renault drivers are starting to think more long-term.
And honestly, these guys try so hard. If you're watching, what these guys are trying to do is basically they're trying to go to Mars here with 1960 technology. This is an ordeal. They've inverted 22 drivers. So not only are the slower drivers going to be up front, but Joe, it doesn't stretch out. The string doesn't get wider. It's going to stay compact. And there's only 25 minutes for those guys in the back to get to the front. And it is in their nature. You could even hear it from Newton. He wasn't talking, even though I was trying to coach him along, get your best result. He's still thinking about getting the win.
Which amazes me with how many cars he's going to have to come through. So yeah, that's the problem, is that it's not even just that it accordions together, Bill. It's that you've got a lot of people fighting. And when someone's trying to get through, you have the guy behind you who thinks, all right, I got to take advantage of this because it's a shorter race. And I know I could have better speed than them. And so they're going to stick their nose in. We're going to see more potentially 3 wide situations, maybe even 4 wide, depending on what starts to erupt out there. So it'll be chaotic. And I have to wonder, Bill, did they get to Mars back in 1960 with what? Maybe a lemon and some wiring, or?
Yeah, that's pretty much that was it. When I watched Apollo 13 the other day, and I saw them doing their math in hand up with a piece of paper and a pen, it's like, oh my goodness. And here I am now. I need every one of these pieces of technology that I'm using to try to possibly call this race. All right.
You don't have your slide rule in front of you?
I do not. Although I think James Lovell could probably do a good job of calling a race if you gave him the opportunity. Qualifying or practice is just about done, as they're going to bring up the grid right now. We'll hustle through it because we don't have a lot of time here, and we're going to bring it up in just a second as soon as iRacing gives it to it. We know who's going to be sitting up front, and it is Alexander Valdo, and he's going to be inside, I believe, of the Flying V, Stevie Chambers, if I can read my notes. And sure enough, I got it right. So Alexander Valdo, Stevie Chambers, row run. Oh, I get paid the money here. Thomas Adremi Herasoyo. That's close enough on that one. Ben Scott in 4th. Odd Jonas Villman in 5th position. Lawrence DeReich behind him. The next row, Darren Potter and Urka Lindstrom. And row 5, Phil Reed, our pre-midways interview inside of Robert Sugar Plumley.
Evan Emre in 11th, Newt Martinson in 12th, followed by Andy Coe in 13th. And it's Rene Osterkamp 14th, Daniel Morrison 15th, Jeroen de Quartel in 16th, Patrick Kessler 17th, Kerry Nolden in 18th, Christian Koch in 19th, and Christoph Holstein in 20th.
And then the fast guys in the feature race, Scott Newton and Christian to catch back there, 21st and 22nd. Good luck to them. The only drivers who didn't get the benefit of the regrid, Silvio Hurt, Adam Tierney, and Luke White, as they did not finish on the lead lap. The drivers are out there. The lights are just about to go off. You can wait for the engines to start to harmonize. There you go. Gather up the chicken steak cover behind the cows. The horses are out of the barn. And look at those two blue and yellow machines. Now, they're not teammates. That is Baldo and Chambers. They are teammates. Let me correct myself. They are racing in identical cars. So right now, it looks like Chambers has got the best of his teammate, Baldo, running in second. Scott in third, De Rijk, and Thomas Adriamia Hersa in fifth.
Ooh, it is a traffic jam coming through 4 and 5 in the back of the field, but they're all managing to get through, thankfully. Everybody's giving each other room. Oh, we've got a problem up in the front. Oh, no, Bill. This is catastrophic.
Oh, and they keep plowing in. It's an octopus putting on his socks. They are plowing in left and right. We will get to it. We'll come back and watch it in a minute. It took out the front two drivers.
In fact, I think it started with the front two drivers.
We think maybe Chambers might have picked up a slowdown penalty, and then everybody else got in. So if my timing and scoring is right, it looks like that makes our leader now is going to be, is it Ben Scott? No, it is Lawrence Sudden Strike De Rijk.
All right, so even though he got a slowdown, it actually started with Valdo. If you'll watch, he started to self-spin. He lost control coming through 5 and just spun across his teammate. Here we're going to see as they come through turn 1, everybody trying to play nice, going too wide through there. This is where the problem starts, coming down into 3 and 4, and that's where Chambers cuts across the grass. Right there is where it happens. But that, I don't really think that had as much to do with this, as you're going to see Valdo just start to lose it right there and weaves across.
4 guys were able to sneak by: De Rijk, Scott, Potter, and Adriamia Harasawa. We're going to get a nickname for him.
That actually could have been a lot worse, but there was a number of cars who really were unsighted on that just were innocent victims. But Lawrence De Rijk, currently your leader. He's got 2.5 seconds over Scott.
Osterkamp and Cowie as well. Now, did it pick up any of the leaders? Did from the freeze race, did DeCatch make it through that one? He is.
Phil Reed got caught up in it, so unfortunately he's been just having a horrible day.
DeCatch in 14th, and I'm looking now to see where Newton is. He was our second place finisher.
He's up to 8th.
Newton got through it as well.
That's the lucky break they needed. How about a battle for second? Potter on Scott. Sneaks by the inside of the hairpin, and I think he's got it done. And now they got a battle behind them. Scott and Oosterkamp going side by side.
Right, so Sudden Strike to right, well out in front. Now we'll watch this battle for, this is Potter. And that's Scott taking the outside line, tucking in the, I'm going to call, trying to make it 3 wide. That's not going to work. That's Oosterkamp.
Oosterkamp backs out of it. Oh, did they touch there coming?
I think they do.
Oosterkamp, wow! Just slices through there. That was brave stuff.
And it was the slow car of Scott that got very loose, almost got the guys behind him as they were going through that final chicane. There's another battle back there. This is Nolden back there. Newton is also in the hunt back here. Newton, the last car in this Hornet's nest.
De Quartel around the outside of the Senate S for him. He could maybe chop him off coming into turn 3 if he stretches ahead. He has a car in front of him, though, so he has to take to the outside. Now he finally gets by him. I tell you what, Oosterkamp is probably thanking his lucky stars right now, because after the horrible race he had last time trying to come back through the field, sitting in second is looking really handy.
He's got 21 minutes to make up a 5-second gap on the leader right now, Lawrence Sudden Strike to right.
And Scott Newton very aggressive all the way to the grass for Scott Newton, trying to get to the inside of De Quartel, side by side through turn 8 and 9.
Oh, he gets loose. He almost got into it. Look at the battle. This is Nolden that was in there as well. Nolden made it up on the inside. Well, when Newton got loose. Now Knowlton fighting on the inside. Are they going to give him room? He does. That's Decourtel is going to lose that spot. Knowlton gets that, and now he's going to lose momentum. That's going to give a chance to Coke. Going to have a run at him.
This is a straight dogfight. It's hard to tell where all the cars are attempting to go, but somehow they managed to navigate that. Knowlton, meanwhile, under threat from Decourtel, comes to the outside down into the final chicane. Can he outbrake him? Not quite.
So now Decourtel's going to have a horrible exit through the final chicane, but he gets a good run. Look at them. They're 2x2 behind Coke. Moving up on the inside, that is Kessler.
Yeah, that was all Decourtel getting a bad run out of there that caused all these guys behind to check up. Newton's still trying to make forward momentum on these guys. He managed to get one finally. Now next on his list is going to be Coke.
See him coming at you there. That yellow car on the inside, that was Tierney. I'm going to call it citrus because it might have been green.
It is green. Yeah, Tierney trying to hold off White, nearly gets into the back of him, coming into 6. Now they stretch out, coming onto the backstretch. Kessler up ahead of these 3. We ride on board with White, looking up ahead at the 2 of them. And just ahead of these guys, Newton has already closed in on Coke, looking to try and find a way by. Might get a chance down into the hairpin. He's close enough to stick his nose in, but he elects not to. This could be a smart move if he can exit off the corner right. Big bobble coming from Coke. That might hand it to him.
Newton has a good run. Let's see what kind of line Coke takes. Coke's going to stay to the inside. He's going to force Newton to do it on the top side. He'll be on the outside for the first part of the hairpin, but then he'll have the inside on the second part, through the chicane, or rather.
Newton a little bit timid on the brakes, maybe trying to set himself up for the exit here. Doesn't quite get the run on Coke, but he still could get the draft and sneak it inside. He's closing in. We've got a battle for third, though, in the meantime.
We're looking at Cowie. It gets around Potter, so Cowie moves up to third.
And Cowie started this race in 13th, and Osterkamp in 14th, though these two have really been incredible movers early on in this race, Bill.
Give you the interval you can mark with 18 minutes to go. De Rijk with a 4.6 second lead. We'll watch that and see if Osterkamp's able to shorten that up a bit.
And there we see De Rijk on screen, just been running on his own since he managed to avoid that chaos at the start. He's going to want to be hoping for what Newton had for most of last race. Speaking of Newton, still trying to work on Coke. I'm surprised it's been taking him this long. I wonder if these two are slowing each other up as he tries to take a look in on the hairpin, but not close enough. He's given room by Coke. And this is one of the few times we've seen that wide line not work out as Newton really dropped back coming up that hairpin.
Kind of have two strings of cars. You have a string that starts with Cowie, Potter, Knowlton, and Decourtel. Then there's another string starts in 7th position with Coke and Newton.
We switched back to Tierney here. He's in 10th, trying to pry 9th away from Kessler. He looks to the inside, down into the first corner. Can't quite do it, and that's exactly what I was talking about before. You can defend from the outside in that first turn if you just go deep into the brakes.
And the last car in that 4-car group is Christian Tkach, the winner of the feature race. Running in 12th.
Not making the progress that I'm sure he would have hoped for, especially considering Newton is all the way up to 8th right now.
Let's look at this. This is Potter being challenged by Nolan. Nolan trying to try to do this on the outside here through the first chicane. He's not going to get it done. He'll probably get a good run though, Joe, into the hairpin.
Yeah, he did that perfectly. Timed it just right. Unfortunately, he's not going to have the inside going into the hairpin. Oh, almost coming together. He needs to get all the way over to that left side. They could have touched wheels easily. Just square off that corner. You can get a good run, get another bite at the apple. And I think he's going to get it. Yeah, look at this, closing in already.
All right, Potter takes the defensive line. Not sure if Nolden has the momentum to finish this before they get to the chicane. Nope, they're going to go 2 by 2 through here.
Oh, look at that around the outside. Nice stuff by Nolden. That's not easy to do around that corner.
That black car in the back, that was Decortel that almost got into the back of Potter.
Ooh,
Now
bit of a
he's being
side-by-side.
challenged. Yeah, that's Coke getting in there. Coke in the blue car, Potter in the Cortel in the black and red car.
Oh, he was way aggressive, and now he's paying the price because here comes Newton, who finally gets a leg in on the inside, gives him room, but holds him off. Man, Coke is just, he is a beast right now.
Newton really has hit a brick wall as far as making his way up. He had a great run. Of course, he picked up a lot from attrition, was able to get around a few, but now he is just struggling here as he's working on Coke.
Absolutely. It is just like trying to hold a wet fish for him. Cannot seem to find a way by. Now he's got to run here. And we had a spin behind them. I think that was, looks like Christian to catch. Stay on this battle, looking around the outside for Newton. Can he get it done this time? Get the undercut. Beautiful job. This might give him the run that he needs. Good. Had a great run. Going to look to the outside once again. Down into the final chicane. Side by side. This doesn't usually work out. And once again, Coke just denying Newton. I can't believe he's been able to hold on to this. All right,
go back and look at to catch. Just a little self-spin. He did not lose a position.
This looks eerily similar to what we saw with Scott Newton in the last race.
Yep.
You can see here, doesn't touch anyone, doesn't touch a curb, rear of the car, just swings on around.
He might have time to run those guys down again with about 13 minutes to go. Certainly faster, but his passing is so tough.
Yeah, Scott Newton has learned that this race, that's for sure. After spending all of last race up ahead and then not really fighting anybody in second place, as well as we look at Darren Potter, a nice little fight with Jeroen de Quartel. It seems like he's getting bitten by the fact that he hasn't had much practice in trying to fight side by side like these guys are right here.
De Quartel has had his share of excitement right now as they continue to work. Potter running in fifth. De Quartel has a good run this time.
I'm not sure if Potter can magically hold him off on this one. He's got a great run coming on the outside. If De Quartel can be brave on the brakes, he might be able to slip through. We've seen someone go around the outside before. He's trying to hold him to the middle of the road. He's trying to squeeze him. Playing very smart. Oh, but he misses that apex by a long shot, and that's going to allow them to get into the grips of Christian Coke, who's going to make it 3 wide.
Coke trying to scoot through the middle. Luckily, Potter clears the way. Oh, now on the outside, Coke gonna get them both, but he's not gonna be able to wall it up in time. Yes, he does.
Oh, he was very close to chopping off the nose to De Quartel. I think it was just that De Quartel lifted, and it's not over between these two. Coke has come through, and they're still continuing the fight. They make contact. Potter has to go off track. Ooh, and he was not happy about that. He gets on the radio.
With an excuse me. Now Newton, and now De Quartel is loose. He's going to lose positions to Newton and White.
Boy, that was a little bit of justice for Potter, seeing that happen in front of him.
Potter falls back to 10th. He's got Kessler as the buffer between him and De Quartel.
Nice job by everybody getting through that. That could have gone so much worse.
We got to go up front real quick because I just got to update you on this interval. Remember I said it was about 4.5 seconds. That was about with 18 minutes of racing left. Well, now with 11 minutes to go, it's down to 2.5 seconds. So René Oosterkamp is a-coming.
You can see the gap. De Quartel, he is not done, still fighting, and this time it's with Luke White coming around the outside down to that final chicane once again, Bill.
I think White might have learned a little bit of a lesson there as he held his place. Dave Cortell likes to pin drivers down on the inside. White had none of it. He kept Cortell high. Now look at this, as White fighting back. They're going to go too wide as they go into one. White backs out.
It was a valiant effort. He, like you said, he was being smart about it because he backed out before the final chicane to try and get himself a run, and it worked. He was up beside him, but unfortunately Dave Cortell was wise and blocked him off to the inside and just carried his speed into the corner so that he couldn't attack him into the Senna S.
So up in the third position, Andy Cowie. What a great job from him. He was under attack left and right. He's managed to hold everybody off, and he's got a nice little gap over Nolden, at least for now. That's a battle for third and fourth. Koch down into fifth.
Yeah, Cowie looking tough as leather this race, that's for sure. But Nolden could still come back at him.
Hurry back, crackers. I can't take any more of these puns.
Osterkamp is now under 2 seconds up to De Rijk. Are we going to see maybe a 3-lap shootout here for the end?
Yeah, I think it very much could be that. You're looking at that citrus-flavored car of Osterkamp.
It worries me that you taste these cars, Bill.
And you can't see colors, you just kind of go with it. You kind of cover all the spectrums you can.
For the first time, we're starting to see everybody get their own piece of track. The only cars that are close together are Kessler and White.
What has happened, I think they finally sorted out who's faster and then finally let them stretch out a bit. Although Cowie is having to fend off. Nolden's starting to run him down a bit.
Ooh, White's connection on my end blinked for a little bit, and on top of it, Kessler had a big bobble. So both drivers having a little bit of worries out there.
And we can report that Osterkamp has knocked off another second off a sudden strike to Reich, so it's now down to 1.5. We're going to stop calling it so much by time as by car length pretty soon.
Tell you what, Kessler's had a very good run this race. He started this thing in 17th. He's up in 8th now. And it could have been a lot of that was gained by that opening Schlemazel, but I still think, I mean, he's managing to hold off White.
Potter running back in 10th behind these guys as we stay on this battle. You're looking at it. Kessler and White. And then you can see at the very top of your screen there, that last car, that's to catch. He's back, got the car going straight again, starting to run these guys down, trying to pick up some positions.
I'm pretty certain at this point that Newton is going to come out on top on the points for this weekend after that second place, and right now he's sitting in 6th. Now, the amazing thing to me is that he could not get by Koch, and he's not even close to Koch right now. There's 2 seconds between them.
No, once was a pinata full of bees is all stretched out now from 10th place up.
Nolden's managed to catch up to Cowie. Remember, we said that he could still be a threat to him.
That interval down to 0.3 of a second. Your lead interval down now to just at 1 second. The clock cannot run fast enough for sudden strike to Reich right now out in front.
Absolutely. Down to 1 second. Osterkamp can see him. He can smell the blood in the water. The question is, can he do anything with it, Bill? Can he get by him? Because I don't think De Rijk is going to give this up easily.
De Rijk is a veteran of the series. He knows how to... Oh, the car gets loose! He's going to lose it now. He's not going to nearly have the momentum to keep this. What a bad place to have a spin. You're going to have to pay for it there and the entire straight.
Every corner matters. De Rijk made a mistake, and he's paying for it. Look, he's got the draft, though. Is he going to fight back? Wow. And Osterkamp going super defensive down in the final chicane.
They both get out of the wall of champion. Okay, and now they head down. Osterkamp is going to get credited with leading this lap number 12.
And while that's heating up, Cowie now has Nolden right on top of him. He's got a great draft coming up to the first corner. Can Cowie hold him off? Oh, he decides not to. He brakes very early. Unfortunately for Cowie, things have tipped in favor of Nolden. Did I break Bill?
Okay, I'm back. Let's go. Osterkamp now out in front. Drake in second. Nolden and Cowie.
And Nolden started this race in 18th himself, now up to 3rd place. Carey's been having a fantastic run this race. Oh, and who was that we just saw spin?
That was Andy Cowie.
Is this by himself? Did he have some help in there?
Nope, it was just looped it around, and he didn't make. Did he back it in? I think no. He kept it off the wall. He's going to lose the spot to Coke, to Nolden, or to Newton, to Cortel.
He's all the way down to 10th. That is just some ultimate disappointment for Andy.
And that's good news. That's good news for Newton, because remember, Newton's trying to win the day. To catch running in 11th was not able to pick that spot up.
As Cowie crosses the line, keep in mind, last time he came across the line, he was in 3rd position. Now he's in 10th. That's 7 spots in 1 lap. That plays a mental toll on you, especially with 4 minutes left. What he's got to do is buckle down now. He's got Potter in front of him. He could still make up a spot, but he can't let his mistakes phase him.
Just under 4 minutes of racing left.
De Rijk's not giving this up. I thought for sure that Osterkamp would really streak away with this thing, but Lawrence is, half a second behind still.
Close enough to the point that any little mistake from Osterkamp might not even take a mistake, because he's close enough he can get a good drive off of one of these posts. Yeah,
He's
the way
trying.
that Osterkamp ran him down, I would have expected him to pull away, but De Rijk's staying with him.
So right on board, just looking over his shoulder. He's in the draft, but it's only enough to really just give him a little bit of a tow, not be able to slingshot by. The real test is if he can maximize his final chicane with that extra bit of speed. They're just about dead even. That number has been staying at half a second all the way back since turn 9.
Osterkamp comes across the line. We think it's going to be this and one more from here.
Still a mistake from Osterkamp, can hand it back. And what we saw from De Rijk is that is not out of the question.
We look at that. Scott Newton has worked his way up to 5th. Remember, we talked about during the break from 21st to 5th, a nice run from him. Cope, 19th to 4th. Both those guys able to avoid the big problem on lap 1. Andy Cowie is in the... This was the same one. I apologize. Sorry about that, boys and girls. Yeah.
Cowie lost a position to catch, and so he is now down to 11th.
So there's a few points for Christian to catch for Red Devil Racing. He's got about 1 second to get to Potter.
Yeah, it's one of those things I've kind of wondered about these reverse grid races, is what kind of mentality these guys, what expectations they have coming in, because Christian going up to 10th is still a gain, but I'm sure him seeing what Scott did maybe is weighing on knowing what's possible during this race.
Newton looking to get a 2nd and a 5th today. That should be good enough for top points.
Well, white flag is out, and De Rijk, unfortunately for him, is now dropped back a half a second.
And this is a case where Osterkamp got to grid in 14th position, farther up than the rest of the guys. But remember, he was fast. He just had some problems in that feature race that put him ahead of these guys.
Still, a lot of credit needs to go to Osterkamp, because he took this opportunity with both hands. He managed to avoid the pitfalls, such as the big wreck that we saw on lap 1, which certainly looked like it was not going to be easy. About half the track blocked off, and it was on the racing line.
Nolden and Coke. Let's go to third position here real quick. This is Coke getting to have a peek. He might have a chance. We'll come back and cover this one.
It's close, but he's going to have to be closer than that to make something happen, I think. Unless he's extremely aggressive on the brakes down here. Saw him take a little bit of a peek, but yeah, you can see he gets in line. This is where he needs to set himself up.
And we've had a spin. We'll come back and cover that at the very end. Right now, we got to go up to the leader. Round number 9. Apex Online Racing Formula 2.0 Championship. The sprint race goes to René Oosterkamp. Second place to Lawrence Sudden Strike to right. Let's look at this battle for third. Nolden and Coke give it a run. It looks like Nolden's going to get the best of it. They were side by side going through the final chicane.
It was a valiant effort by Coke, but just could not make it work around the outside. Actually, he's lucky that Newton wasn't closer. He could have stolen that spot away from him, finally.
Yeah, Newton, Decourtel, Kessler, White, Potter, and it looks like Tekech is going to... Potter and Tekech is going to get 9th. And
here's what happened to Luke.
Luke was looking to have a nice top 10 finish, had a mistake on the very last lap.
Man, turn 9 just is proving to be extremely difficult. This is where it happens right here, coming into 8. Does he get the curb at all? Doesn't look like it. Just a little greedy on the brakes, and there goes his nose.
You've been watching the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the Apex Online Racing Formula Renault 2.0 Championship, round number 9 from Montreal. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back to run down the entire finishing order of the sprint race, talk to the drivers, and close up shop. Back in a few. back to the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the Apex Online Racing's Formula Renault 2.0 Championship round number 9 from Montreal. The second race just wrapped up. That's the 25-minute sprint. And it started with quite a kerfuffle up front. Let's go ahead and look at this one. It started with our two racers up front getting together. But then, Joe, take a look at it from your viewpoint.
Well, watching from above here, I'm trying to figure out which car we're watching. I guess we're on Oosterhouse. Yeah, there you can see him split through there. I don't know if we could go back and get an onboard. It's pretty incredible. He has about half a second between the track being blocked in front of him. You're going to see here as they go through 4 and now here in 5. You cannot see what's happening. It all erupts right in front of him. Can't see it. Then it's blocked right there, and suddenly it clears. It's just like magic. And that is just racer's luck. You can't plan for that stuff. You can slow up a little bit, which is what he did. But let's look at Holstein's view, Bill.
If you've ever seen Blues Brothers, this reminds me of this one. They keep piling in. This is the last car into the pack. You're riding on board with it, and you can see the track just is clogged in front of him. He does his best to keep it up, to keep it off. He starts blowing it up. Bang, 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 bang. He's lasted about the 10th one in there. What you gonna do?
Yeah, really nothing. Like we saw from both their views, you can't see much going into it. You can't tell what's going on. And fun fact about that movie, Bill, Blues Brothers held the record for the largest car crash on screen until it was broken by their sequel.
Well, there you go. I think Apex Online Racing going to come in there close, somewhere in the top 10, I would think, after that one. Okay, let's go ahead and run down the finishing order of the sprint race that just wrapped up here. Renee Osterkamp and Lauren Suddenstrike to right go 1-2. Kerry Nolden and Christian Koch 3-4. Scott Newton started in 21st, going to get 5th position. Jeroen Decourtel, Patrick Kessler, Darren Potter put on quite a show for 6th, 7th, and 8th. Christian Tkach had a spin, got all the way up to 10th, fell back a little bit. He's going to wrap up in 9th position. The Milkman, Andy Cowie. Joe, I hope you had fun with all of your cow puns on that one. He's going to get 10th. What do you got for 11th?
That would be Luke White, who unfortunately threw a bunch of positions away on that final lap in 11th. Ben Scott came home in 12th with Adam Tierney in 13th. Silvio Hurt, a little bit of a better finish this time compared to his first race, coming home in 14th. Evan Imre in 15th, and Daniel Morris in 16th. Then you've got Stevie Chambers. These are drivers that all fell victim to that opening lap incident. He was 17th. Thomas Andriami Harasoa finishes in 8th. Phil Reed in 19th. Robert Plumley 20th. And then rounding out the field, Alexander Valdo 21st. Jonas Villman in 22nd. Urkel Lindstrom 23rd. Knut Martinsen 24th. And Christoph Holstein. All drivers that fell victim to that incident. And the final spot, 25th.
We're going to bring in the driver who finished 2nd. He held the lead for a lot of the race and was able to avoid the first lap big one there. We're going to talk to Lawrence Suddenstrike to right. Lawrence, congratulations, 2nd place. You just weren't fast enough to hold off Renee.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Wow, the adrenaline is still pumping through my veins. It was very exciting. At the start, I saw Steve. He lost it, and he went straight to the left side of the track. So I went to the right side, and luckily there was room there. So I was suddenly on P1, and I couldn't believe that was happening. So, and then I heard on the voice chat a lot of people that there was a big accident. So I was really hoping that I could build up a gap, but on my relatives I already saw René Osterkamp there. So, and I knew he was really fast because he did the fastest lap in the feature race. So yeah, well, the first 6 laps I could hold the gap to 5 seconds, but then I was getting a bit nervous and starting to make little small mistakes. I even touched the wall at one point, and yeah, then finally when I think he was 1.5 seconds behind me, I lost the rear on the exit of the hairpin, so he could easily overtake me on the straight. And then yeah, I thought give it everything and try to hang on in his gearbox, but he was so fast, and I could hang on to it for 2 laps or so, but the final laps he was just too fast for me. So unfortunate for me, I couldn't win, but second is still a good result for me, I think so.
You got to think that you and your teammate, things are starting to turn around for you. You're racing, I'm just doing this off the top of my head, but you race for, it's Infinity Racing, is that correct? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah. You guys are climbing up on the charts now, so it's coming around for you guys.
Yeah, the second half of the season is getting a little bit better. I had a lot of DNFs in the first half of the season, and today also I really messed up the quali a little bit. So I was only 12th or 15th, can't remember. And then I thought, okay, just try and make your way through the field, but. Yeah, I got stuck in a battle with Luke there, and he outbraked himself, and then he hit my car, so I had a damaged front wing, and that was pretty much race over. I lost 2 seconds a lap, and then I thought, okay, just cruise to the finish and take a good position for the sprint race. And for once, I could avoid all the incidents. So that was a big relief for me.
Well, it's always great. You're a great interview. Always good to have you in here when you have a good race. And lately, we got to talk to you a little more often than we did early on. Congratulations. Second place here today. Should be a good points day for you, too, when you add up both the results.
Yeah, and hopefully my teammate Ty will be there next week because he's ill this week. So hope he gets well soon. And also a shout out to our sponsor, Adaptav. They're doing a really good job in making us race on all the tracks. So good job to them.
Okay, congratulations. Good luck when we go next week. Let's see, where are we going next week? I have
Brands Hatch.
Oh, Brands Hatch. That'll be great. That'll be good. You like Brands Hatch?
Yeah, I scored a podium there last season, I think, in the sprint race also. So looking forward to it.
All right, good luck to you. We'll see you down the road. That's our second place finisher today in the sprint race, and that was Lawrence Sudden Strike to Right, racing for Infinity Racing. I'm waiting to get any news here, whether we're going to see. We're going to see if maybe we can talk to one more guy if possible. Meanwhile, Joe, did you enjoy your first visit here to the AOR?
Well, it wasn't my first visit. I got to call a race with Zolder, I think it was last season. Yeah, I believe it was last season. So I guess you guys keep sticking me on covering these chicane-ridden tracks. But it was definitely a thrilling race. I saw some great action out there. Definitely a little bit of chaos in the second one, but that wasn't too unexpected. I was pretty impressed with the quality of the racing that these guys put on what is honestly a very punishing and difficult track.
Well, it looks like that's going to be our only post-race interviews. All the other drivers are busy, so we'll wrap it up here. We'd like to thank everybody at the Apex Online Racing for organizing this Formula Renault 2.0 championship and for contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. We know you have a lot of choices when you fly. Thanks for flying GSRC. Thanks to the company's equipment and software that you see on the screen right now that we use on the broadcast. The original music you've heard on today's show is thanks to Eric Eckholm and Casey Lalonde. Joe, the viewers can see the screen for how to contact each of them.
And the AOR returns next week, Friday, May 19th for round 10. We mentioned it before from Brands Hatch. These cars around there are pretty tricky, but another track we expect maybe some attrition since the cars are going to be really threading the needle in some corners. GSRC will be there to bring you all the action, however. We hope you join us. For more information about GSRC, your best bet is globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel.
And now on behalf of the man whose voice you just heard, Joe Peak, our director Amjad Yaman, and our camera artist Dougie Beard, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. And a shout out to my partner Sean Crackers Ambrose. If I could persuade you to hurry back because I can't stand any more cow puns from Joe. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.